Toastmasters is set up in this really cool way where actually a very effective learning model that's called a flipped classroom. So in a flipped classroom, if you think of your traditional college lecture hall, right? The professor who hopefully has some public speaking skills but often doesn't, gets up there and drones on with the same presentation they have given to groups of 300 college students for who knows how long. So they're using rinse and repeat information. There's very little interaction. So in a flipped classroom, you would take that professor and you would record them doing that presentation one time. The repeatable copy paste information is put into a video form or an online course or something that can be consumed at the learner's leisure. And then you use the class time as a lab, as hands-on activities, as experiential learning. So that's what we do here in Toastmasters. Pathways is the online learning curriculum that is the backbone of the Toastmasters learning experience. And then we show up to the meetings and we get to practice and play. We practice taking on leadership roles. We practice speaking in a prepared fashion. We practice speaking in impromptu fashion. We practice giving feedback and evaluation, which is a whole skill by itself. So we spend the whole meeting practicing rather than getting lectures from a teacher that probably has better things to do with their time. So there's that focused attention on the online curriculum. Now what's fun is we have gotten an update to the Pathways platform, the online learning platform, in the last, gosh, it came out 2 weeks ago maybe. So it's still all very fresh. And in my role as Pathways chair in District 53 and as a Pathway ambassador in District 50 or 42, I wanted to take some time just to share with you guys what's changed and how it's gotten better. So let's see. So I'm going to just dive in since I have limited time. I'm going to show you some of my favorite features from the new Pathways system. And Shayla, can you give me sharing permissions? Should have asked for that. And awesome. All right. So let's jump in here. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the way the platform used to be, but suffice to say, it was very clunky and it is much easier to use now. So you get into it the same way that you always got into Basecamp. But now when you log in, this is what you see. So you've got your learning paths are all available up here. You can also see your completed ones. And it's a lot easier to navigate through to all of the different things you might want to do in Basecamp. So to start, I'm going to show you what the new paths look like, because some of them, we had 6 that transitioned over, 5 that they're going to sunset eventually. Right now, they're still available. They're just not updated. It is a little bit slow, but it does come up. So don't worry, it happens. So when you log in to any one of your paths, you're going to see something that looks a lot more like what you would find in Coursera or maybe Masterclass or any of those other online learning platforms. You can see an outline of all of your different options. And then when you go into each individual presentation, actually, I'm going to look at the one that I'm doing right now, the question and answer session. You'll find that on the side, you can navigate and bounce around between the different sections. So that navigation is a little bit easier. And there are also some really neat interactive elements that they've upgraded. So everything looks a lot cleaner. I feel like it's a lot more straightforward from what we had before. And then just to jump ahead, where was the, whoop. So this is still new for me. Here we go. So instead of that initial like assess your skills thing that they had, that little rubric that you would kind of, evaluate yourself on. They now have this assess and reflect thing where you get to fill in some things that you know leading into the project and some things that you wonder about. And there's examples there. So it's more of a reflection exercise. It's a little bit more open-ended. And then as you go through, there's interactive elements. But what I wanted to show you that's kind of oh, here's some more interactive elements, right? So some things that you can reflect on that you've learned throughout the project. But one of my favorite parts is this part here. So again, you've got your, no wonder, and now there's a new thing about what you learned. But right within the project, there is the opportunity to fill in a log of your speech. So you can keep a record of all of your speeches right here in Basecamp. And I did this late last night, so Pam may not have gotten it, but I was able to go in and say, Pam is my evaluator, and send her an email that has the evaluation resource and also has a little bit of a note. So in this note, I did not give her as much information as I probably should. I probably should have told her some things that I'm working on with my speaking so that she knows exactly what to evaluate on. So this makes it really easy to communicate with your evaluator so you can get even better feedback for the skills that you're trying to improve. And then to complete your project, which was also something that was kind of unclear. It was easy to miss in the old Basecamp. There is just a very simple button that you click when your project is done, and then it sends a notification to the Vice President of Education, and they can approve it. So this makes it a whole lot simpler and a whole lot clearer on how to navigate your project. So with that the speech log, you'll be able to go back and find those speeches. But there's also some other cool things that we have going on there. So there's an achievements tab where your speech log does show up, as well as some fun learning badges and feedback badges that we'll be able to share with each other. So any pathways levels that you've achieved will show up in your badges automatically, and then you can also see your progress on current paths that you're working on. And the feedback badges, I don't have any yet because it's very new, but these are something that you're able to request feedback. So maybe if you fill a role, like I could request feedback and send it to everybody, or just to Shayla and say, how did I do as Toastmaster today? Or you can give feedback to other people. And I'm going to show you how that feedback looks by going into another cool little feature, which is My Clubs, where you get a list of everybody that's in your club, and you can kind of see where they're at and communicate with them. So Philip is a member of my home club here in Connecticut. And I wanted to show you his because you can see, he's already put in one of his speeches that he did retroactively. You can see their badges. And just for fun to test the system, I tried sending him a badge. I sent him the Courageous badge, and you can see it under feedback. He participated in our club contest that we had just this past month. Get private. So I let it be public for what I was sharing with Philip. I was poking around and I looked at our amazing Freddie's profile, and she has a bunch of badges. She must have done a presentation somewhere, and she had several people send her some feedback badges, but you'll see with hers that you don't see anything under feedback because they must have all made it private, or maybe they didn't write anything out, but you have that choice of, so you can send someone, private feedback and then the badge just shows up, or you can share that publicly for everyone to see. And yeah, so let's see. I think that was everything that I wanted to cover. The one thing I'd like to encourage all of our members to do is to maybe go in and fill out your profile. It actually doesn't get housed, the options are not here on Basecamp. It's integrated with your Toastmasters international profile. So you would go to toastmasters.org, fill out your profile there, and then it will take about 24 hours for it to populate over. So I put some stuff into mine this morning, hoping that it would show up. And then when it didn't, I remembered from the TI webinar that it is going to take some time for it to come over from the TI website. But since this is so much easier to navigate, it would be kind of cool for everybody to get their information in there. And I'll double check just in case. Yeah, so my stuff's not showing up yet. But I was able to put in a role for that I did. So if you want to use this as a historical archive, you can. You could go back and input things, or you can just use it going forwards. So I have shared enough. So now I would like to know from you guys what questions you have about the new Basecamp, things that have changed, things that have stayed the same. If you have any questions about how Pathways works in general, so the learning curriculum itself, if you want to know anything about that, be happy to answer any questions. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I want to hear what questions you guys have.
Stephanie, I have a question.
Go
If
right
I
ahead.
if I want to sign up for a brand new pathway in the new Basecamp, how would I do that?
That is exactly the same that it's always been. So that's going to be through Toastmasters International. And you'll find that in the same place, which honestly, I always have to bounce around and remember where it is. But that's the same that it always was. Oh, here we go. So this is where I always find it. I know there's another place too. I really should learn it because of the role that I'm in, but you basically go through the same process that you always did. You can still take the assessment and it'll give you a recommendation. And then it looks the same, except for the fact that there are less options now because they are sunsetting those older paths. So if you still have the path, it's still in there. And they're referring to them as legacy paths at this point. If you have one, it is not updated. It looks exactly the same. It is embedded in here, which is nice, but it's the same kind of clunky. It doesn't even fit. So it's the same sort of clunky thing that it was before. But anyone new joining is not going to have these options. They will have the nice user friendly paths to choose from. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Ken, I saw you unmute. What do you got?
I have a question about the mechanics of evaluation and feedback. We used to have it where you filled out a form and sometimes sent an email. But it sounds like everything's within this package here. So you don't need to use any email communiques with the speaker or as an evaluator, correct?
I am not sure exactly. Honestly, in this moment, Pam might actually be able to tell you better what it looks like than I can because I have not had that communication yet with anyone. So Pam, what kind of email did you get when I sent you the notification?
Yeah, I did not.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So I knew to, and getting ready for Sam, I knew that an evaluation form could be there. And so thank you for including the evaluation form. So I knew where to go through and dynamically speaking. But yeah, interesting. I did not get an email.
Okay. So that's something I will definitely have to find out about. Yeah, and it may be so does that look like the right email address for you? Like troubleshooting in the middle of the thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
unless it went to spam or something.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's good to know. So one of the things that I'm going to ask of all of our members is if you run into stuff like this, please tell me. If you come up with these questions and have to dig around for 15 minutes to find the answer, if you can let me know about the experience, or if you just can't find an answer. Again, I'm serving in a leadership role to help people try to figure out this transition. So the more I know about what hiccups people are running into, the easier we can make this transition. So that sounds like a little bit of a hiccup. So Ken, I will have to get back to you on that one because it seems like it's still we're still figuring it out. But as soon as I'm able to have that complete interaction, I will let you know because we should see under let's see. I know that there is a place, I don't want to spend too much time clicking around for you guys, but under feedback, here we go. So under evaluation feedback, you should end up seeing your evaluations here, I would assume, but we'll find out. So, all right, what other questions do you guys have? Maybe one more this morning? Does anyone have anything that they're wondering about?
So Stephanie, being relatively new and still learning kind of roles and pathways, and now, right, kind of knew the old way and now learning the new way, and not to truly make it a loaded question, but is there kind of a recommended either kind of place to start or an area to focus in on? Because there is so much, it's a wealth of information. So just wondering your thoughts, having some experience of what would you recommend of just kind of where to start?
I would start with whatever your next speech project is and just go in and thoroughly explore that. So you can still bounce around between speech projects, like you could, just like it used to be, they can only be approved in order. So like you have to have completed all of level 1 before the VPE can check you off as completing level 2. But you can still, poke around. Like I haven't done any level 1 speeches. And since this is an additional path that I'm doing, I jumped right to level 4. But whatever one you're on, I think you've given 2 speeches or so far, wherever you're at, just click into that speech, and then I would just concentrate on bouncing around within here. There's interactive features. One good thing to know about all of those interactive features is that they are not required to complete the project. So you do not have to go in and fill out the know, wonder, learn thing. I don't think I showed you guys. Where was it? I'm still new to this. Maybe it's under complete your project. No. So there is a spot that I now can't find, of course, because I want to show it to you guys, where there's a checklist that there it is. So this project, every project has at the end the purpose, an overview, and then a little checklist that you can walk through. So I would start kind of in here, walk through the project and then try going through and using this interactive element to walk your way through preparing a speech. So that would be my recommendation. And then, from there you just poke around. Luckily, I don't think there's a lot of places to get lost. You're going to have these 4 tabs up here. And you just poke around in those 4 tabs, see what makes sense, see what doesn't, and then let me know any feedback that you have.